Hello, welcome to Ancient Voice Rising with Hera. Today's guest is Kimmie Halberta. Here we have a very raw, authentic conversation. I have my guests send me their bios in their own words, and Kimmie represents herself as a psychic intuitive medium, animal communicator, and practitioner of several modalities of energy healing. She holds a master's degree in sociology along with a bachelor's in philosophy. From the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, Kimmie has been in animal rescue for 17 years, focusing on rehabilitating special needs dogs. She has been enjoying fostering for the Greyhound Retirement Foundation of Tennessee for the last 6 years. I am excited to welcome my guest, Kimmie. Hi, Kimmie. How are you?
Hi, Hera. I'm doing all right. How are you today? I'm very excited about our episode.
Me too. Me too. It's good to finally meet you in, well, person over Zoom, face to face. We've been talking a lot through Messenger and voice messaging and phone calls, and it's been wonderful. So I'm excited for the show today. Um, I'd like to start off with who are you and how did you get to where you are today? Were you and we can go back to childhood if you'd like.
Well, I am a psychic intuitive and medium. Animal communication is probably my very favorite thing that I do. Although
Oh,
I work with people very often. I really do an absolute ton of readings. Um, but
okay.
animal communication is my very favorite thing that I do. I did not have like an aha moment. There was no like huge transformation. I've always been able to tap into my gifts. They've grown over the years. I always like to refer to Reiki. Well, I have a friend who likes to refer to Reiki as the gateway modality, and I've kind of picked that up from her. So whenever I started Reiki training back in 2022, it was so cool because all these things that I was seeing and feeling and whatnot, it just really exploded. And I realized that I was doing energy work. So I'm a practitioner of multiple types of energy healing. And I realized, oh, okay, well, I've been doing energy work all along, but I just didn't necessarily know that that was a thing, if that
Right.
makes because I started getting Reiki done on me for a migraine condition back in 2021. And then whenever I started doing it, I was like, oh, this is super, super familiar, right?
Mhm.
Um, and because it's Reiki is just a universal energy that really anybody can use. And and what was so funny was that I'm also a medical intuitive, not from what I understand, a lot of psychics kind of have their niche. I don't necessarily have a niche. I have things that I prefer doing, which is animal communication and working with them, but I really do everything.
Mhm.
And so I do a ton of not just energy work, but I do even just in readings, I get a lot of information about people's physical bodies.
Mhm.
And and doing Reiki training made me realize, okay, so there is such a thing as a medical intuitive. There are people who call themselves that. And so I guess that's the other another thing that I do. But it was something that was always there, but it was enhanced when I started doing Reiki training.
You're
But yeah,
multidimensional in you're very multidimensional in all of the different facets of labels that we have that we come in with. So you're able to take those like the psychic intuitive or the medical intuitive and compartmentalize them and put them in and use them as your tools.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Just
And
wanted to make sure that we kind of let the audience know, about all the different tools that
mhm.
you have at your disposal.
And it's a lot, and I don't even have a name for a lot of I can tell people what I do, but I don't have a name for all of the tools. I mean, I work with elements. I do a ton of elemental energy work, which is fascinating. I've done that since my early 20s, when I discovered what it was. Right. I was like,
Isn't
oh,
that
so
fun?
this is the thing. Yeah, it's like, well, I've been, it's like I've been tapping into this energy. I was like 12 or 13 years old when I first discovered the elementals. And then it just kind of like I didn't realize it was a thing
Mm.
until my early 20s. Um, and also like setting intentions with candle work, which is kind of we're going to talk about some of that today. We're going to talk about a lot of things today, but um whenever we were talking about ideas for our episode, and I said, well, what about, since this is the 6th of January, what about like New Year's, like resolutions or intentions and really living intentionally day by day. And so I also discovered at a very young age that you can put intention into things and really see it come about. And there's so much magic in the mundane. And I think that that's very easy to forget when not just individuals are under a tremendous amount of stress, but the collective is. And when the collective is really suffering, it's very hard to see that there's magic everywhere all around you. And I discovered that very young. But I was in middle school before I realized that it was different for me, that I
Mhm.
experienced life very differently. Um, it was awkward. It was very awkward growing up and being able to see and feel and hear and have access to these other realms, which really anybody has access to those. Like everyone has the ability to reach that. Some people a lot more naturally than others, but everybody has the ability to reach those realms, right? And but it was odd when I was younger. It's like, okay, well, so you don't talk to like your great grandpa who passed away frequently. Okay, that's cool. Awesome. Awesome. So you don't talk to cats when you see one on the street. Okay, great. It's just really weird to grow up in that way.
Did your
Yeah.
family, do you have people in your family that are like you that you got this from or that you could talk to about this when it
Not
was happening?
so no, not really. It was weird. Everybody sort of knew that I was different.
Hmm.
And not just from a neurodivergent like ADHD, or potentially autistic spectrum. Everyone actually they really didn't pay that much attention to that part and really saw more of the spiritual differences, right? And by that I don't mean religiosity, I mean specifically like being able to connect with other realms and talk to other beings.
Right.
So my mom passed away when I was 6, and what happened was it, it was a situation where I knew that she was going to pass. My
Hmm.
grandma was also, she was very, very intuitive. She was also a Piscean, so that makes anybody very intuitive, just kind of automatically, right? When somebody tells me they're Piscean or they're like a Scorpio or even a Capricorn, Capricorn is wildly intuitive. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you're just a natural born psychic. Cool, right? Like anytime somebody has major placements there. But my grandma and I both knew that something was seriously wrong with my mom and that she might pass. Anyway, she passed away of an aneurysm, and she'd had a really horrible migraine for a couple days. It was quite terrible, but I knew that that was going to happen, and so like I was the person who like I found my mom right before she had to be care flighted to the hospital, and like I saw her spirit hovering above her body, and it was a whole thing. But I had had so many experiences before then, it was just natural for me to say, oh, that's her. Like she's not coming back into her body, right? Like I just knew. And so
Yeah.
I didn't let that trauma shape me. I understood it. I now understand that with more awareness, like you can look back and kind of understand how why things happened the way that they did, right?
Mhm.
And and I have a deeper understanding, it doesn't mean it's not sad. It doesn't mean I don't miss my mom. It means that I understand.
Right.
I understand how things happen, why they happened the way that they did. But that was kind of when my family was like, "Oh, so she's very different, right? That she's very different." I also, and this is really like cliche, but I would get nosebleeds like all the time. If I was
Mhm.
around somewhere that was really active, they'd be like, "Kimmie's bleeding again. Like this place must be haunted." And and I couldn't go into a lot of stores. Like I couldn't go into metaphysical shops or anywhere that had a lot of crystals and stuff. It was so overwhelming for me that my ears would just ring so loud that I couldn't hear any.
Mm.
And so, not that my family from, like the middle slash East Tennessee, not that they were going to metaphysical stores regularly with me, but just, places that would sell salt lamps or something, or like in certain sections of even like a department store, salt
Yeah.
lamps are really popular. They're still really popular now, but anytime I get around something that was crystalline like that, like my ears would just and so it was something that everybody kind of knew, and they didn't really question. They were religious people. My grandma was Baptist. That didn't, she had no judgment of me,
Okay.
right?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, okay, well, she was also very open, and I think everybody kind of saw me as everyone in my family saw me as different. That doesn't mean that I had a good childhood. It means that everybody was aware
Okay.
that I was very different. I had actually, which I think is really fascinating when men are highly psychic. Um, I think that a lot of men are very psychic and they just don't talk about it.
Mhm.
But I had a great uncle who was deeply, deeply psychic, and he was also a medium, and that was on my mother's side. But as I've gotten older, I've really left the realm of, oh, people are going to judge me for this, and I'm like, I just genuinely couldn't care less
Yeah.
what people think. The way I see it is like I have this ability to do something cool. Like some people are really great at playing football. Some
Right.
people are great at like basketball. Some people are wonderful figure skaters. I am a psychic. It's like my talent. I might not be good at sports, but I can talk to your dead nana, right? Like, it's like I can talk to your dog that's had diarrhea for the past week and tell you what's going on. For the most part, and I don't mean to sound like I'm speaking with hubris either, is I do try to be very humble in that because I don't ever claim to know everything because I don't know everything. I don't know how everything works. What I know is that I was born with this ability. Um, I it's expanded and kind of changed and morphed over time, and I really love being able to help people, and I really love being able to help animals, and it just is what it is. And so
Yeah.
I have no question about it. Um,
Well, some I have found through my experience and been asked throughout my experience in different sections of it when that booming voice comes in. Um, that, where would you like to work right now? Would you like to work within the animal kingdom? Would you like to work with, humanity? Would you like to work with the earth and all that, source energy? Like where, would you like to work with a specific star system? And it's been I'm always I'm game.
right?
I'm game. And they're like, well, let's pick one. And I'm like, why? I always go, why? Why
Right.
do I have to pick one? You know?
Yeah, like why can't it
And
be anything?
yeah.
Why
And
can't it be everything?
and then it's like this little Shazam goes off and it's like, okay, here you go. And then I find those multiple those pieces, coming in. The one
Yeah.
thing I will say about that is it can be overwhelming when you're working with so many different aspects and perspectives of our energy fields and our bodies. And
Yeah.
for me, I'm speaking from my experience.
Yeah.
I want to go to when you were getting your migraines. You said something to me that just sparked. Um, when before your mom passed, she was having really bad
Mhm.
migraines. Did you ever correlate to when you would get a migraine with your mom coming in?
Yeah, no, 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 not her coming in. I understand entirely why that would be. I understand why you'd pose that question. No,
Okay.
she's not able to reach me. It's kind of like I can reach her, she can't reach me. Like I can go down the elevator in frequency, right? But she can't necessarily come up. She had a lot of issues that she's still working through, so she can't connect with me. Uh but because we just aren't a frequency match at all. It doesn't mean I don't love her, it doesn't mean I don't miss her, right? It's just that we're not a frequency match. So she can't find me, but I can find her very easily. Um, and so part of also, I'll say this as a side note, then answer your question more thoroughly, because I think I know exactly what you've pinged on. Um, as I grow and and I have kids, and as I grow and as I like break a cycle of trauma, that raises up the frequency of your ancestors, right? And so
Mhm.
my mom is one of my ancestors, so like I bring her up as I come up. It's kind of like the rising tide, raises all ships, right? Or the
Mhm.
high tide raises all ships. um so, in fact, my grandma who passed away in 2009, she came through for me significantly for the first time about March of this past year. And so, because she had a lot of work that she had to do, but I was able to do the work on my end, and then it kind of bump to where she could reach out to me frequently.
Interesting.
So yeah, and so because we're not always a frequency match for those who have passed, and also sometimes people have so much grief and they can't help it, but they have so much grief that they can't actually make a connection with their loved one who's passed. And they're like, "Where are they? Where are they?" But then they're still bringing them into the physical realm where they can't actually make that connection. Um, which is something we can go more in depth in a moment if you'd like to. But to answer your question, no, so I have vestibular migraines, and so what I do is, and actually I do a tremendous amount of work, and I don't ever let anybody work on me for them anymore. Like I do my own work with them. But what I like what I realized, and I'm not necessarily very happy about this, but what I realized is that I so there was an amount of transference that happened when my mom went into a coma,
Hmm.
and all the symptoms she was getting with her aneurysm is like extreme dizziness, nausea, vomiting, all those things, right? Um, like instability in walking, all that. And so vestibular migraine is hours and hours and hours of that. And so I had a lot of transference from my mom trauma. And so, and I don't know how true this is because I really try not to mystify things, but I was told I had this craniosacral therapist for a few years, and I was told that the soul is stored in the C3 vertebrae. And I'm like, well, maybe it is. I don't know. Right? Like, sure, why not? I guess if there's somewhere in the physical body it could be stored, why not there? But what I do know is that the neck directly correlates with uh, mother trauma and like neck problems. I mean, it can
Hmm.
come out in other ways too, but that's a big one in the physical body where those issues can manifest. And so it doesn't really surprise me. And my rising sign is in Taurus, which is, the body part that is associated with that is the neck and the throat. And so it doesn't really surprise me that I get those symptoms, but also it it's something that I have a lot of control over. Like I have a physical body. I get sick sometimes, like we all do.
Hmm.
I have certain things. I can't eat a lot of dairy. Like I can't eat food dye, or I'll have a tremendously bad migraine because I still have a physical body, which is our most temporary form of self, right? Um, I have a lot of control over it. Sometimes I'll feel a migraine coming on. I say, absolutely not today. I have too many things going on today. We're not going to do this, and it'll just go away. And I know, and I'm mad enough in that moment to be like, no, we're not doing this today. Um, but I mean, because I can get very debilitated for days at a time from them. And so, but not so much anymore. I had to do a lot of work surrounding that. And I also realized that there was a lesson in having my migraines that where I actually had to like thank my body for the experience, and then I was
Mhm.
able to let go of the body.
Accept it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, well, I want to say acceptance. I want to say it's more of a thank you, you're not needed here anymore. I accept what you've done for me in the past. You don't need to be here anymore. You're not allowed in my body anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just an absolute refusal of nah. Like I don't need to. Why do I need to feel bad? I don't need to feel bad. Go away, right? And so I mean, I still get migraines sometimes at a very, very lower frequency, and I have a great medication that helps when I get them, and I do work on myself, and I take so much magnesium,
Yeah.
uh, um, and it works. So I've just
Yeah, my daughter used to have migraines, and I started her on magnesium and
good.
an amino acid, which is called L-tyrosine, and it works on the nervous system. So and once she started taking that, they completely disappeared.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and she hasn't had one since. Um,
Magnesium, I think, is just a wonder supplement. I think it's just a wonder mineral. There's so many different things in the body that magnesium works so well for. But I'm really glad to hear that she hasn't had any migraines since then.
yeah, not since she was about 16. Yeah. Yeah,
Good.
she'll be 25 at the end of this month.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I
She also,
love that.
she lives in my energy field as well.
That's wonderful.
But sometimes she acts as a mirror.
Right. I was say there's all we are always surrounded by mirrors. But yeah, so no, I just think that's wonderful. But yeah, so I don't I have a very hard I accept that I have a physical body and that sometimes it's not going to feel good. I have a very hard time accepting more than that. Because if I
So you,
have I don't want to ever identify myself as, oh, I'm just a person who gets migraines because that just brings that energy to you. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like I'm a person, I get migraines every now and again. It's not who I am. I don't have to walk on eggshells all the time because of it. Whenever I did and I was super, super, super cautious is when I got the most migraines. I
Mhm.
swear it was. It was so, and I didn't make that connection for a long time. I was like, well, I'm doing everything right. And it's like, no,
Mhm.
you need to stop having it in your head that things are going to trigger your migraines all the time, or your migraines are going to get triggered all the time. But I mean, supplementation has been a big deal to help me. And so I'm glad that's helped your daughter too.
Yeah, the divine innate system that the intelligence of our bodies is simply genius.
Hmm.
And when we tap into that and learn how to work with that innate system and surrender to that innate system and know that it knows exactly what it's doing. We have an
Yeah.
amazing filtration system. Um, and so yeah, I love that. And from my experience, I don't know, my family members that have passed, they come in after they've transitioned into spirit, out of the physical body, and they're always with me. I've never seen them as a different frequency, um, that is behind me, in front of me, or beside me, but stands with me in the circle,
Hmm.
because and then moves with me and evolves with me there.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I can smell smoke and text my mom immediately Like I'll immediately, when I smell smoke, I can text my mom and she goes, yes, and I don't even have to ask the full question. She goes, yes, I smell it. And I'm like, Grandpa my aunt, well, our aunt is here. And we used to go, no, you can't, don't, but that's what we associated them with, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but it's interesting in in your outlook that you have in that.
Well, it's just I mean, she's just not, I think that, let me preface this by saying some family members really, really do have more of a frequency match, or
Mm.
they
No, I
have,
agree with that. I'm not saying
you
that
know
they
what I
don't.
mean?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that they don't, because I mean, I completely get what you're saying. I just kind of wanted
Yeah.
to give a little bit more of an overview to the viewers about that, because we're so flooded now with lower vibration, higher vibration, this and that, and so much information coming in and at us that I
Yeah.
kind of like to expand on it with um, adding to your perspective from my experience. Yeah,
Yeah. No, absolutely. And no, well, I think that's also a very, that is I think whenever I read for clients, which you are very, very aware, like you are also psychic and you're a medium, and you do intuitive readings, and you're just a highly, highly intuitive person. So it's also very different, um, for, I think, people who are more aware too. And then, like you said, like you and your mom, you smell smoke and you're like, oh, okay. And then she smells it. And then you have that connection, right? You know exactly who it is and why they're coming in. Um, and for a lot of people, they have those instantaneous moments where they're like, oh, well, I'm pretty certain that smelling cigarette smoke relates to my aunt, or I'm pretty certain that seeing a butterfly outside relates to my cat that just passed away, because maybe the cat loved to chirp at butterflies from the window or something.
right.
People just know instantly. Animals totally different though. Animals can match any frequency. They are just there. They vibrate so much higher than people do, that I mean, they're very, very godlike creatures. Well, we're all godlike creatures,
Just
we
flip it around,
but
flip dog around.
yeah, I mean, well, that exactly. And right.
Yeah,
But like, but well, because we all co-create our reality with the universe, and we're all God, right? But animals, they just they're such master creators. Um in this way that humans, I think we are also master creators, but we're not as aware, right? But animals vibrate just so much higher. But anyway, so what I'm getting at is when you have people who pass, it's a lot, I think, more complicated sometimes because especially when you're in a lot of grief, to understand if they're actually reaching out to you or not.
yeah, yeah. And that's where a lot of people start, when they come to beings like us, and they feel that connection, and they get to open up to the possibility that I can stand here and talk to my mom, or whoever it is, or whomever, whatever realm, whatever being, consciousness,
Yeah.
that is there. It starts that opening. um and I love that part of it. Like, not so much, oh, Grandpa Joe said, you know you gotta do this or watch, it's or or the message in it. For me, it's about, hey, can you feel this? Can you
Hmm.
feel this connection that you have? And did you know that you can create that connection anytime you want? That it's also within you? And when you open that door, and they start feeling that, and the love and the compassion that comes through in those moments, it's just, it's a high for me. like no other, knowing that their heart and their energy centers are opening up to the possibility that what they're feeling and what you're saying is just, there's so much to explore there.
Well, agreed. And I think that it's really, well, I don't want to say I think. I want to say I know that for people in that position who just aren't sure how to reach out,
Yeah,
it helps them process grief too.
absolutely.
I mean, once they're able to establish that connection, there's also a lot of fear. Humans are very afraid of death. I'm not going to say that in a way of like of hubris and saying that I don't, that I'm not concerned with my own mortality because I certainly am. It's kind of what survival instincts are for, right?
Well,
But
doesn't fear of death bring you to the journey and start asking the questions?
I think that it very much can. And that comes in many, many, many different forms.
For
Yeah.
some, let me add that, for some.
Yeah.
Not
No, I think that that's a very accurate statement. Because it has people searching for like, well, what is there in the afterlife? Like, especially if they don't resonate with particular religions, and then they have the experience of someone who's passed, and then that past person comes to them,
mm,
um, and says, "Hey, I'm here and I'm fine." And sometimes people just really need to hear that. And
yeah.
there are more and more and more people coming on board
Hmm.
too. And also there are more and more people who are not only coming on board, but they're living very, very intentionally.
Hmm.
And they are stopping you always want to say stopping to smell the roses, but they're stopping to look at the magic that surrounds them. There are
Yeah.
signs everywhere. It's important to not necessarily try to look for those signs. It's important for them to just come to you. I had a friend yesterday, I have a friend who yesterday had an energy work session, and she's a wonderful practitioner, but every now and again she'll let somebody else work on her. And she had felt something come out of her heart that really needed to come out and be healed, but then she saw her heart opening like three times over, like a big flower, just open, open, open. And on her drive home, she saw like 333 on a license plate, and then we were
33
on,
petals. The
yeah.
33 petals opened.
And she didn't make the connection until and she's an amazing psychic, but anyway, and she didn't make the connection until she got home, and we were on the phone, and she said, "Oh, I saw the 333 because I had the three experience." And I was at her house just a week before that, and 333 kept coming up on my phone and then on her, her stove and stuff. And anyway, so it's just funny because there are no coincidences, there are only synchronicities. So really tapping into the fact that there is magic all around you. One of my favorite things to do is create like rainbows in my house. So using so I love sun catchers that reflect prisms on the wall.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah.
I have them all over my all over my house. There's rainbows everywhere. And sometimes it kind of looks like an aura migraine, but it's fine because it's not. It's just these beautiful prisms. So I have them on, I would say, over half of the windows in my house. And like I love stained glass and anything that reflects color, anything that reflects light, anything that could be like a magical portal or like a fairy portal, or that makes me think of unicorn magic or something. I just love having sparkles in my house. And so that's part of just I'll be having like just a terrible shitty day, and I'll look over and my whole wall, like half of my wall is lit up with rainbow prisms, and I'm like, well, there we go.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm like, well, there's magic in the mundane. And so taking the time to also realize that like I'm I am certainly not in any way, shape, or form above the human experience. And I do have very, very I have some pretty big emotions about a lot of things, but taking the time, especially when I feel dysregulated to see what magic is surrounding me is so very important. And more people I
And the
feel are
magic that you are.
the magic that you are too, but it's really hard to feel yourself as magical if you're in a slump. And I think that a lot of people there's so much in the collective. There's always something going on in the collective, but sometimes the
Yeah.
collective feels really good. Sometimes the
Yeah.
collective feels like it's on an upswing. I do feel that the collective is on an upswing to becoming more and more and more open, and will dismantle old systems. I do feel that very strongly, but I also know that there's a lot of pain and hurt in the collective, and it's global, and so living trying to live intentionally doesn't have to be it doesn't have to look like any particular thing. It doesn't have to be crunchy. It doesn't have to be like you're using, plastic free shampoo and conditioner. It can just mean that you're living um in such a way where you take time for self-care, and instead of being reactive, you sit with your emotions for a while and you really think about them and you become self-reflective. And so that is something that is really, truly, genuinely so important to set intentions and to live every day um, as if you can change the world, right?
Yeah.
But that
Because
also starts
you're
inside.
co-creating with it. So you're
Yeah.
co-creating with it. Let's go into animal communication. And if- I want to, um, when we spoke
Hmm.
on the phone, you said that I had a black and purple dragon come through. Now, normally it's a red dragon or a blue dragon or a black dragon or a white or a gold.
Hmm.
But this one was black with purple down the center.
Hmm.
And it said I knew its name. And I thought, well, the black dragon does shine and glisten in different colors, and it will glisten more of one color if it needs to than the others, depending on where we're going.
Yeah.
So do you see it and feel it with you now?
Anytime I open up and do any sort of session, podcast, just a reading, a lot of different beings come out. Usually it's the most pertinent being particular, to that particular moment and that particular session. Because with some people, you'll see more during like an energy session or something, right? But I see your dragon. I also see a leprechaun. I don't know what that's about. Um, see that. He's very prominent. But I see your dragon. And when I was talking about rainbow sparkles, it was so interesting. So I have a lot of dragons. I have a lot of unicorns too. I don't I don't identify so much with like mermaids or things of that nature, even though
So what would
my
the leprechaun represent in your perspective? This is
I
an
think
open, honest, raw conversation. Don't hold back.
no, I think he just represents the need to be able to be on more platforms, kind of what we were talking about yesterday.
Okay, yeah.
Like in promotion and creating a space where you also receive an energy exchange for what you're putting out, right?
Okay. Yeah,
So,
because well, so it's funny that you say that because this past summer we had a huge rainbow where we were living before we moved to where we are, and it was a triple rainbow. So there were three rainbows on top of each other. And then when I looked off to the left, I noticed a pot of gold. And then when I looked off to the right, I noticed a pot of gold.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, and there weren't only two pots of gold on one on each end, but there were each rainbow had a pot of gold at the end.
Oh, wow.
And my daughter and our roommate saw them as well. And as we started, awareness started to come into them, the rainbows merged into one rainbow. This I have pictures of it. Actually have pictures of the three rainbows.
Awesome.
And they merged together into one glorious, huge rainbow. And then the colors started changing into like, they were very faded rainbow colors. And then they got very vibrant and then pastel. And then it disappeared. But what stayed were the six pots of gold.
That's lovely. Don't you just love synchronicity like that? I just love synchronicity.
It had just stopped raining and it was actually still raining when this
Hmm.
happened. And I just happened to, I came downstairs, looked out the window, and it was so bright outside, like unusual. Like you couldn't not see the light coming through the window. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
a light. So I went outside and that's when I saw it. And I grabbed the girls and we started like filming and taking pictures of it and stuff. And I was like, do you see this? Do you see? They were like, oh my God. So I love that you have rainbows all in your house. But I was curious too about the little leprechaun. Um, that's not the first time I've heard that. Um, and I'm not sure that um, it is here for my highest good.
So what I see, and I think that it's always really important to use your own discernment, right?
Mhm.
Um, because it's not like a guide, he's not like a guide. He's more of like the way I see him is very much and leprechauns can also be associated with greed, right? And so when you look at a leprechaun and you think about something greedy, then that doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel like it's there for your highest good. But just general interpretation, what I took it as was needing to expand on more platforms and really growing the growing the podcast in a very expansive way, but like
So,
being on lots of
yeah,
platforms.
and I see him as I didn't notice the energy until I was with my soon-to-be ex-husband because
Yeah,
he's all about money.
got you.
So
Yeah.
when we get done, I'm gonna flip that. Well, I've already taken that veil off. So maybe that leprechaun now is flipped around, facing forward and walking with me, and not against me anymore. Because before it had always been, it felt like it was working against me, but I don't feel
Yeah.
that anymore.
Well, I think it's more of the ex-husband is the leprechaun and this is something different. This is
Yeah,
something coming in to help you. It's two totally different things, but
yeah,
still similar concept of not working against you, but working with you. Yeah.
yeah. So when you
So,
feel into that dragon energy, and this is still in with that primal animal, because in that cosmic realm, because I do work a lot with the Lokame dragons, which is an ascended civilization outside of Cyrus A and B. And they come from Lokame. Um, what were you feeling in that moment? Was it an inquisition or was it a like, hey, like
it was
happy?
it was very much more like, oh. well, you see me. And I was like, well, yeah, I see you. And she was like, well, she knows my name. Or I said, well, what is your name? Do you want to tell me your name? And she was like, well, she knows my name. And I saw a big
Don't.
S and I was like,
I
I'm
actually
not
don't.
good with names. Oh, well, I don't know. It starts with an S. I have no idea, but it was it was like Sarah Donnie or something weird. Like it was like a long name. And so,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it was interesting because it was such a long name. But I tell people it's like I am I'm
Gotcha.
notoriously bad with actually I don't think I'm probably as bad with names as I think I am.
Yeah.
Um because
I
I've had
think you're pretty good with names
well, thank
because
you.
I immediately, I know who that is now.
Well, there you go.
So
Well, I'm
I
glad.
want to show, so what I'm doing here with you is I'm showing the multi facets, the multi-dimensional. It's not, because people can label you
Hmm.
as that psychic or the medium or the healer and so on and so on. And so I wanted to point out that you are so multidimensional as well.
Well, thank you. I I call myself a catch-all. So I was like, I'm just a catch-all psychic. Like you have a bowl that you put your keys and everything else. I'm like the catch-all psychic. I'm much like that bowl. I just about everything's there. But again, I enjoy working with people. I do have my preferences to work with animals, but I mean, I enjoy working with people too. It's just different. The human condition is very different from
It is.
working with animals. Animals are a lot more of that cosmic realm, I think.
So let's talk about your animal communication and how you go about um, doing that.
I don't know if I have a good explanation for how I go about doing it.
Okay. So do you feel it? You just kind of know, like when you are sitting next to a dog, you can have a conversation in your head with the animal,
I
or do you feel its body? Because I used to feel my dog's bodies.
It's everything. It's not just one thing. So I get, which, and I know that this is just a way of me knowing it's not transference. I had, because I was very uncomfortable with this for a long time, not necessarily when it came to animals, but when it came to people. Like I'll get the physical pains and all the stuff, and I'll be like, or I'll start coughing if somebody's had lung cancer or something like that, just the basic, something that make you immediately think of what the person or animal might be going through. Or like, I would get really itchy with allergies. Like or with if the person or the animal has allergies or whatever, whoever has
Hmm.
inquired my or whoever has seeked out my services, and we're in the middle of a session. So
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be an energy session. It can literally just be like I'm so tuned in all the time, which I'm grateful for, but I mean, I can just pass a dog and be like, ugh. I'm like, oh God, that dog's allergic to soy. Like it's just there. So when I work with animals, so a lot of animals can't speak, they don't speak in words,
Right.
right? So when
Yes.
they're sending, a lot of the time, now it depends on the animal. Sometimes they can have full-blown conversations. It really just depends. But
Mm.
they will send me, it depends upon how many times they've incarnated or how familiar they are with language or whatever, because they have their own language, right? And so horses tend to speak more in words. Dolphins, I've had that experience where they tend to speak
Mm-hmm.
more in words. Um,
Well, speaking
but
sound.
yes, but it all kind of, it's so funny how it varies. Like some animals I feel are more likely to communicate to me with words, telepathically, but there's so many who also just use images. So they'll
Mm.
use images and then they'll also show me like something that's going on in their body. So it's a
Okay.
combination of feeling, of seeing their body parts will light up. I'll feel something in my body. Then they'll show me an image of something they really don't like. Um, or something that they really do like or whatever. Like I had this beagle. God, this beagle was precious. She was not very smart. She was not the brightest crayon in the box. She was like 9 months old, and I met this dog a few years ago, and I'll never forget it because it was just such a simple message. I was not talking to I mean, I was talking to a higher being because she was a dog, right? But it was not like she was a very advanced being, right? But
Mm.
she was precious. Oh, it was so funny. And it was Halloween, and she had a little pumpkin outfit on. Oh, she's so cute. Just little itty bitty baby beagle. And I was holding her and we were talking. Like, I was talking to her person. And this dog, this whole time, like we're talking about like her origins and things like that, right?
Right.
And this dog, the whole time, this dog is like, I like the fish. I want the fish. And then she's showing me like an aquarium, but it doesn't really look like an aquarium. It kind of looks cartoonish or like animated. And I'm like, well, I don't know what the fish. And finally, I'm talking to this woman for like 15 minutes, and the whole time this dog is like, I like the fish. And I'm like, what is the fish? And I tell her person, she says, well, she has a fish toy. And I'm like, no, it's not a fish toy. It's specifically something that she's watching. I said, I really don't get the feeling that there are fish in your home. I don't feel that energy. Do you have an aquarium? And she said, no. And I said, I didn't think so. Why does she keep telling me she says she wants to watch the fish, watch it with her eyes. She wants to watch the fish. And she's like, well, I started playing dog television for her. And one of the an aquarium. And all this dog wanted to tell me was that she liked the fish. And I was like, cool. And then 20 minutes goes by, like 20 minutes later, and I'm working with this other dog who's a Vizsla. And this dog is like, I've done this so many times. And I'm like, done what so many times? He's like, I find people. I love finding people. It's my job. I do it all the time. He said, last time I was in a similar body, but the time before, and he showed me like he was like a big, like a Saint Bernard looking thing. And he said, I find people, but it was really cold then. Like it was really cold and there was snow on the ground. Like it was really cold. She's showing me images and he was showing me how his paws were really, really cold. His body was warm, but his paws were really cold in that lifetime. And he's showing me like he was finding people, right?
Mm.
Not drugs, not sniffing for drugs. That's very
Right.
different. Drug dogs is totally
Yeah.
different. Finding people. And I
Mm.
asked, I said, this dog is telling me that you have put him through a ton of training. He was like 6 months old. I said, this dog is telling me you've done, and he was dressed up like a pirate because it's the same event. And the lady was like, "Well, he's a search and rescue dog. He's training to be one." I said, "Well, is he excelling like way more than other dogs in his class?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, he's done it so many times."
Yeah.
I said, "This is his favorite thing." I said, "You were his handler, but you were a woman last time, but the time before that you were a man." And so you
Mm.
keep coming back with each other. He said he has some other people who take care of him throughout his lifetimes too. I said, "But you've been with him the last few." Um, and then kind of sporadically for hundreds of years, and you just keep or thousands. This dog was very
Mm.
old, like very, very old soul. But
Yeah.
this, he was so happy. He's like, this is my purpose. I love finding people. And he showed me how much he loved going on walks, but he was straight and narrow with his walks. Like, even though he was a 6 month old puppy, he just, right on it, not getting distracted by a lot of things because he knew, like, he was going out for a walk. He was not going to be pulling and distracting his person,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Um, very structured dog. So it's just amazing.
It
Anyway,
is.
so that doesn't really explain how I do it. I don't know how I do it. I do know that
So when you're in a session with someone, what is your process? Do you just sit down and just allow the energy to come in? Because people see in structure. A lot of people do. They see in structure, they see in, I've gotta do this, I've got to do that in order to have a session and connect with, we'll say, an animal. And
Mhm.
I go, I sit down and just have, I get the impression and have the conversation.
I think I could read in the middle of a tornado and be fine. I have no
Okay.
process. It's just,
Okay.
I have no, I don't, I know a lot of people have a process. I don't.
Okay.
It's very like, and I can boom, 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 go from one, like to the other really, really fast. It, I, and I, so I have a class on animal communication, and I do talk about that and how you connect through the heart space and how
Okay.
you can get into a meditative state. It's, I don't know how to. I can teach someone how to, and I do host these classes about 5 times a year, because they're very popular. And
So
so
that is the process.
it it is a process, but it's not anything, it's something that I came up with for other people. It's not,
Okay.
I never had to use it, if that makes sense. It's something where like I sat down with my higher self and I was like, how do I teach this? I was like, how do I teach someone
Okay.
to do this? But it's not something that I do. It's
Okay.
something that it's just, I say, hey, do you want to talk? And they're like, sure. And I'm like, okay. I had a horse once say he didn't want an energy session, but he talked to me for a few minutes. I mean, that's the only time I've not had an animal talk to me. I had a dolphin, very suspicious of me that I talked to, very suspicious of all people, though.
Mm.
And I mean, there's been a few kind of
Well,
instances
they
like
are sentinels, so
that's true, but they, they, for the most part, animals get really excited when you talk to them. I had a service dog who has a job, right? Like I don't ever go up, nor should anyone go bother a service dog. But I had a service dog once in an animal communication talk I was doing. It's like my class, only I was doing it like it's a kind of a shorter version of my class,
hmm.
and I was doing it for donations to help keep that particular place open. Anyway, um, and that service dog was like, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this. Ask me first. I was like, okay, well, I'll ask, but and his human was a little hesitant. But that dog, his name was Magic, which was wonderful because Magic was magic. I kept telling him that. He was just tickled to
Aw.
pieces that he could talk to me. And he was like, "You can hear me?" And I was like, "I can hear you." And he's like, "Oh," and like, it was so, and it was like the second his person released him from his duties, he was like, he was a little Australian Shepherd. And he was so excited. And so I don't have a process, but I have come up with a process to answer your question. I've come up with a process where you sit and you get into your heart space and you ask the animal if they would like to connect and kind of go from there. But I don't have a for me, and I don't have a process.
Okay.
And but I never did. Again,
Just natural.
yeah. So I
Okay.
yeah, but I think that anybody with meditation and which I don't do, sometimes I would just turn into an alien. I think if I meditated regularly, I would just turn into a unicorn and fly off this planet. But because I don't ever meditate, I just think I would expand so much. But no, I just don't have the attention span to. And so, but meditation is wonderful for people opening up their gifts or trying to expand upon them. It is. I mean, that's how a lot of people learn how to sit in their own stillness and be open, right? Like basically where you can
Mm.
hear pin drops, you can get messages in. And so there's a meditative practice that I also kind of walk people through with my animal communication class. And I will
Okay.
also say this because we were talking about mythical creatures. I have a mythical creatures class coming up. Which I think we plan to try to teach that twice a year. I don't know
Mm.
yet. I'm teaching it with my friend Jennifer, but where we go over like selkies and mermaids and like Quetzalcoatl and different like cross-cultural beings
Oh,
too.
I've worked with Quetzalcoatl before.
Yeah.
He cost me
Um,
$150 in lottery tickets.
well, he's and I never see
He's
him
an
as a
interesting character.
I always see him as the pterodactyl and not the dragon. Always. I don't know why. And he's always this giant yellow pterodactyl when I see him, and he's a time traveler. And so that's how I interpret him. He comes to me as like this time lord, and it's super cool. Um, but 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 there's all these cross-cultural beings too. And then there's
Mm.
cryptids. Class doesn't focus on
Oh,
cryptids,
yeah.
but I bring cryptids up a little bit because I'm in Appalachia, so everybody knows about Bigfoot and whatever else lives in the mountains. We don't know. You hear a sound and you
Oh,
go
yeah.
inside, you just don't question it.
Yeah.
You don't ignore it, you don't question it, you just walk back in your house. And and so I've lived in like the deep woods in Appalachia, and you just don't
Yeah.
go in.
Yeah.
Sorry. You say, well,
Yeah.
that was weird. and you don't think about it again.
Yeah, it's like okay,
Yeah,
respect,
we
respect.
respect.
When
Do
I
what you
come
need to
across
do.
an energy that is of a nature that maybe I might not be prepared for at that moment,
Yeah,
I will go with respect. You
yeah,
know, and move on.
yep. And I just say, well, bye. I'm
Yeah,
not. See you
goodbye is
later.
and
You
then
make
no
those.
and stop are very very powerful as well.
Yeah,
No and
absolutely.
stop. So that will bring me to we are got about 15 minutes. So let's go into because I know we were going to talk about with all of this stuff that we've already talked about. Let's talk about energy hygiene. That you have you teach about energy
Yeah.
hygiene.
Yeah, I do. And by the way, if anybody's interested in classes, like, and I'm sure that you'll share my website link, there's an
Yes.
event tab, and I post all my classes there. So spiritual hygiene is something that my friend also, her name is Jennifer, and she's the one who's I'm teaching the mythical creatures class with. Um, She's wonderful. She's a trooper. It was like 2 a.m. one night, and I texted her and I'm like, I want to teach about unicorns and dragons. We just made it happen. Um, but so the spiritual hygiene class I do teach with her. And so what we talk about is, and I so the collective fear is a big part of it, and separating yourself from collective fear and creating a space in your home that's comfortable with the resources that you have. And so it's spiritual hygiene is the basics, right? It's the basics. And from what I've seen, it's taught the least. At least I'm from Knoxville, and there's nobody actually teaching spiritual hygiene at all, except
So
Jennifer.
what is spiritual hygiene for
Um,
in your perspective?
so it is the absolute, like, if you are an energy work practitioner or just a person interested in energies and how they flow, um, even like feng shui, things like that. Uh, it's just the absolute basics of how you clear yourself and how you clear your home and how you, once again, you live intentionally, you keep other people's energies off of you. It goes far beyond cord cutting. Um, a lot of people talk about cord cutting in a way of like lighting candles and tying them together and then cutting cords. I do not do that. I just very specifically do it energetically. Um, Imagine a great big pair of scissors cutting a cord from your heart center to someone else or your solar plexus to someone else's. And you just split that, right? Like you cut it. Uh, so spiritual hygiene is about grounding, protection, the basics of clearing your home. It's one of those things where we talk about, well, if you want to, what is this? I can't remember who said it, but there's a quote like, if you want to change the world, go home and clean your closet first.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping your space physically clear, but also how that attributes to energetically clear. We go over how to protect your property, like how to clear your space, but then also
But
putting
doesn't
protection
that
on your
project
property.
fear?
No, 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 not at all.
No.
We all have, so no. No, because fear really isn't helpful. It's very specifically about staying out of fear and out of collective fear.
Okay.
For everybody needs protection, right? Like we all have homeowners insurance, we all have car insurance. Like everybody needs a certain form of protection there. So, like for instance, I do energy work. I don't do that in my home. I do readings. I don't do that in my home. I just simply won't bring that energy of somebody else into my home. I used to. I don't anymore. Um, it's sweeping because if you're not consistently sweeping out other people's junk or even just the energy of a, like, let's say you get into an argument with someone you live with and you really don't want that energy hanging around your house, right? And the more of that kind of energy you have, the more like it at a certain point, if your space is really not clean, it can create a portal to things that you really don't want coming in. Right. So,
Oh,
and I work with a lady who, so I live again, in Knoxville, East Tennessee, there's an absolute ton of limestone under the ground.
Mhm.
Limestone acts as a portal. It's super easy to go between realms. And
Okay.
so a lot of properties are on top of limestone.
Hmm.
And sometimes on top of caves, because again, East Tennessee. But so I have uh, she's a client, but she's kind of turned into a friend that I've been trying to work with who her house is a total portal. It's not that she is anything, it's not that she's doing anything bad or wrong. It's just her house is a portal. And she
Hmm.
lives near a cemetery, and so she has a portal coming up from here, and then she has a portal coming in from the right. And so it's not enough to just have four railroad spikes around her property corners. It's she really needs like a wrought iron gate. Those are very expensive though. But anyway, it's about protecting your energetic boundary. So I clear my house energetically like every few days. You can clear your house with lots of different things. I like Palo Santo and Yerba Santa. Some people like sage. I don't think sage can be effective for smaller things like arguments that or like illness, that kind of stuff.
Emotional,
Emotional, yeah. Palo Santo is more for like it's heavier duty for the spiritual stuff. Yerba Santa is great for entities.
mm,
It's what I would really suggest using if you believe you have an entity in your home. Um, but no, it's not anywhere about a or it's not anything about fear. It's very much about keeping your space clear and keeping yourself separated from the energy of the collective. We also go over looking at relationships, what relationships serve you, what relationships don't, how to set up healthy boundaries with people, or if somebody keeps stepping over your boundaries, do you need to really have them in your life? We talk about limiting time on social media and
mm,
then also a time limit on intaking media. And you just determine how much of that you want yourself or how little of that you want yourself. Because the news is while people, I think most people want to be informed, it can also become a very obsessive thing and very overwhelming. And then that
mm.
leads you into collective fear. So
Yeah, I don't ever watch the news.
if you have boundaries, I do, I stay informed, but I also have a cutoff. Like I know what I need to know. I also am a huge fan of now saying that, huge fan of doing things at a community level. So like I foster dogs. That's a big way that I help my community. I do a lot of different sometimes I do charity events and things for dogs, like with animal communication, to help local shelters or local rescues. But something that I really promote is if you if you truly want to help the world, change happens at a community level. So we
Hmm.
talk about like working on the community level and kind of finding gaps in resources and maybe how like let's say there is a free dental clinic next Thursday and there's 15 people signed up for it, but or there's but like maybe five or six of those people don't have a car to get there. You can find gaps where your community really needs help
Hmm.
if you have the capacity, because it's all about determining what capacity you have. And you start doing those kinds of outward things once you get your home and yourself clear and established. Do you see what I'm saying? And then
Mm.
you can start doing the more community stuff if you choose to. It's a
Yeah.
way to, again, it goes back to the, um, if you want to change to the world, clean your closet first. It's all about establishing that kind of clean slate, and then you can determine if you have the capacity to take on more things to be helpful.
I know I have found that reclamation of a sovereign field and
Hmm.
knowing that nothing has authority over my sovereignty
Yes.
works well as well.
Yes, absolutely. And that goes back to what we were talking about guides and like cosmic beings and things. And you were talking about like the leprechaun, right? Well, is it really good or is it bad? And I'm saying, well, it's separate, but use your own discernment, right? Like they were
Mm.
two separate beings. Um, use your own discernment on that.
Well,
And that
everything I believe has an opposite.
everything does, everything has a shadow aspect, that's true, but when you have when you talk about like sovereignty, right? And you're only calling in the things that have your highest good in mind or your highest good at heart.
Mm.
Um, that is like I don't
No, I meet everything. I meet everything.
yeah,
I meet everything with let's have a conversation.
yeah,
Like it's not me versus you, you versus me, the energy versus or anything like that. Even emotional static or what whatever it is. Um and that's how, like, me personally, how
yeah,
I meet it. I will meet that energy face to face and be like, this is my sovereign field.
absolutely.
I will speak with you and you may speak with me. I'm not going to shoo you away, type of thing. Because
Yeah,
in my experience, I have found that when in the past when I've done that, it just kept a repetitive cycle going. So now I meet it with my hand up, and I'm like, you meet me where I'm at, I will meet you where you're at. And um, but knowing and surrendering into that, knowing that I am the guardian, I am the warrior, I am the God, the creator, the sovereign field, and I have that birthright to meet you exactly where you are without fear, and go, okay, you're here for a reason, because nothing comes into your field without a reason. And to a certain extent.
yeah. No, I understand. I understand where you're coming from, and and I agree with you about absolutely meeting people where they're at, and also just accepting people for who they are, right? If
Well,
you talk
and your
to people.
energy field and what's around your energy field, because if you bring in oneness,
Mhm.
then that emotional static can't be separate from you.
I think that I think we're using different language for this
Okay.
the same
Gotcha.
thing. Yeah,
That's
I
what
think we're using
I'm trying
yeah,
to give a different, I'm not trying, I am giving a different perspective on
yeah.
energetic hygiene and how to maybe look at it in a different manner, along with what you offer. Because those are basic and they work.
Yeah, and
And that's how I learned.
I do so there's also though, and I think that we're using just different language to say the same thing, but
Okay.
when you have people who when you have people who really don't who are really feeling out discernment in a realm
Mhm.
that isn't just like their
They
physical
need the
being in the
basics.
3D. Well, but they need the basics, but also calling in it's a lot more complicated to say, well, I'm going to call in everything around me, right? Than saying, well, I'm going to call in who's best for me. And like, even when I call in ancestors, I only call in ancestors who are in non-competition. There is no reason I need an ancestor who's in competition with me around me, right? Like, there's absolutely no reason that I need that. I already, like, lesson learned, don't need to deal with that again. There's a reason that they're not in my field all the time, right? If they
Yeah.
want to be in my field, it's because they want to compete. I don't need that. I'm not in high school. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm thinking of, I had an aunt that was quite nasty to me, and she's an ancestor, but I'm like, girl, you ain't getting anywhere around around this. So whenever you're teaching spiritual hygiene, you really want people to just call in like the things that are there for their highest good. And even
Okay.
then, really use your discernment because a lot of things can appear that they're there for your highest good,
Hmm.
but they're really not. And so I talk about like how you feel through the heart space. It's one of those, I say this all the time in class. If you feel it in your chest, you know it's real. If it's just in your head, you need to use more discernment. But if you feel it and you feel it here in your heart space, like you were talking about much earlier, like that connection, that heart to heart connection, that is a tried and true energy that you can really trust. Like it is a very
Mhm.
trustworthy energy. But I would ne like I will see things. There's plenty of things I'm sure that would like to come to me every now and again. I'll be passing by something and there will be like a fear demon or something. And I'm like, I don't need you, right? I don't need you. Why do I need you? Like the only thing that you're going to do is try to suck on my energy and bring me down. I don't need that. I don't need that. So that's also about being sovereign, like you were saying, and identifying yourself as a sovereign being. But so I did a class for a sober women's, or I signed up to, it was a like a volunteer thing, and I loved it. It was amazing. And it was about meeting people where they were at. And it was a sober women's group, and it was amazing. These women were
Mhm.
amazing people.
Yeah, I'm a
And
sober woman.
that's good for you,
Oh
girl.
yeah.
Good for
Mhm.
you, girl.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank
Um,
you.
that's like how long?
I had 14 years, and then I had an ND right before my ND. I had 2 months where I
Yeah.
broke, or I broke that cycle,
Yeah.
and um, and then now I'm, you know, it's gone. Like it,
Out of your
I,
field.
I just completely like my feet were glued to the ground, and I was puffed up into like white smoke,
Oh,
and
wow.
it just, and then I went to the hospital because I was gray at the time.
I'm sorry. God, that's
No,
awful.
it was a lot of catalyst. It was a transformation. It was a cycle ending, that finally needed to be put, that needed to let go of, because it had
Yeah.
been projected for so long. So,
Well, congratulations that you were
well,
able
thank
to,
you.
on your healing and on your progress. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And yeah, I was sat in this, it was a circle with, with all these women and my friend Jennifer, because she also signed up.
Mhm.
And we did like chair boosts, right, for everybody. And everybody who wanted one anyway. And a chair boost is like a 5 minute like energy use session, right? And
Yeah.
and what was so amazing to me is like I could s- I could really see like where people, like, if they knew that they had certain attachments, because it's not my job to get an attachment off of a person, it's their job to get the attachment off of them, right? Like I won't do that kind of work personally. I would if it was somebody really, really close to me, but I'm not going to remove an attachment from someone else. However, um, I will teach them how to, right? And so we did kind of like a very super easy, just basic, like here's grounding, here's like your bubble of protection. Take what resonates and leave the rest, right?
Mhm.
It was just a really kind of, I don't want to say watered down, I want to say very simplistic, a muggle version, if you will, of spiritual hygiene. And it was a very muggle version of spiritual hygiene. But part of that is knowing that there's so many people who accept behavior from others that really isn't acceptable, right?
And I
And like
think
I've been
humanity is learning boundaries right now.
Well, and what I saw was even just in this short amount of time with all these beautiful women, that it was like when we talked about relationships and we talked about staying out of the collective fear, and we did not go into all the details on protecting your home, but we just kind of talked about creating a nice space in your home for you to
Hmm.
have, somewhere that you can sit and feel comfortable. And what
Yeah,
was so amazing is they were all just so receptive, and so um
that's beautiful.
it was incredible. It, like, I felt so connected to all of them, and they were wonderful people,
Yeah.
and the girls who got it together were wonderful people, and anyway, just amazing. And so I felt very privileged in that moment to be able to spend that Saturday with all these beautiful women. But what was so cool was that like I was able to see, or one of the things I thought was very cool is I was able to see, okay, this person has these attachments, but as they bump up in vibration and as they heal, those attachments won't be there, right? Some attachments take
Mhm.
a lot longer to get rid of than others. So I understand kind of, whenever you do meet something where it's at, I've met a lot of my things where they were at, and they just absolutely not. There is no reason in the world for me to. I'm very like, you come at me, you're going to ether. Like I don't care. Like you, I will send you back to the source so fast. Like don't look at me. I will send you away so fast you won't even know what happened. Um, but
Oh,
and so whenever we do teach the full class. We talk about bringing in what's there for your highest good because a lot of people don't have that type of that type of discernment, and even fewer people know how to send something away,
mm,
right? And I'll also kind of wrap up and say this, just because we are in the start of a new year. Be very, very intentional to your audience. Just be very intentional about taking time for yourself, even if it's sitting down for 15 minutes and having your favorite cup of tea. Just be very, very intentional. Put sparkles in your house if that's what excites you. Create a space in your home that's for you. You shouldn't have to ask people over and over and over again to support you who are people who are in positions that they should support you, right?
yeah,
Like whether it's your partner or your parents or best friends or whatever, right? Like you shouldn't have to beg for support. Um,
right.
and also don't be really hard on yourself. I think a lot of people make resolutions that are just tremendously difficult. Like, girl, you're not going to get up at 4 a.m. and go on a run. You're not going to do that. You
No,
might get
I
up
learned
at
that lesson a long time ago.
But that doesn't mean that you can't say, well, I want to do something that's fun that will
Yeah,
get me into better shape where I can feel good, or I'm going
yeah,
to finally let go of this relationship, even if it really, really hurts.
yeah,
Evaluate your relationships and try to stay, determine how much news you want to consume, and try to stay in the mindset of you can be compassionate and you can be aware, but you need to get yourself together first. You really can't pour from an empty cup. It goes back to that old
yeah.
saying,
You
right?
gotta,
So set very realistic expectations
it's
for.
always like you've got to put on your own oxygen mask first before you can put on
Yes,
another's.
yes,
So
yes,
you've got to
yes.
fill your cup up with your
Yeah,
own self-love,
yes,
and
yeah.
then you can pour into others. You can
And
turn the fountain on and let it flow.
exactly. Um, exactly. And so being very compassionate with yourself is critical in order to have any kind of an intention
Mm,
setting to actually like to follow through, right? You
yeah,
really have to be kind to yourself. And it's super easy to get stuck in victim mode, but victim mode doesn't do anything for you. It just gives you an excuse to not be better,
yeah.
right? And also accepting
Mm,
less from other people. When you accept less from other people, it is always because even if you say out loud that you deserve better, if you continue to accept less, you don't really feel like you deserve better. You
yeah.
have to reevaluate those relationships because
Mm,
there's always something. If somebody's treating you really poorly, is that your fault? Probably not, right? Like probably really not. They're probably just not a very nice person, but that does mean that there's something within you that isn't allowing a shift into something better, even if that's just you being afraid to leave a relationship or a situation or a job, right? Like that's been a
mm,
huge theme um in recent months. And so creating intentions that actually last and not being really hard on yourself would be a great way to start the new year. And I don't think we're going to really feel the new year energy till like February, which I think I can't remember which date in February, but the start of the Chinese New Year isn't till like mid-February, late February, something like
yeah,
that.
right.
I can't
Yeah.
remember. So
It's
it does,
the Greeks' taxes.
right.
Um, January 1st is when they celebrated taxes that they created. So,
Really?
yes. So it's like when
Well,
the fireworks go off, it's like, oh, yeah, you're excited about paying your taxes. All
oh,
right,
that's
cool.
yeah. Well, that
So yeah, February,
True.
mid-February is and the mid-February to the March 1st, starting there is in my experience like New Year.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
feel like that every year, and I guess that's why. I guess
yeah,
that's yeah. I guess that's why is the Chinese zodiac. I guess because it doesn't ever. It feels like we're almost in a liminal space until then, for some
yeah.
reason. And you're still writing 2025 on everything for like the first thing. Still writing 2025. I had to
I wrote
sign a form.
2016 on something the other day. I was like, wait,
Oh
what?
God, you're like I'm timeline jumping today.
I was like, hang on a second here. Hold on, let me change that.
No, well,
They
I
were
didn't do.
intentionally not wanting me to write 26, and I'm like, no,
We're not going back to 26.
no.
Lessons learned. I did
Yeah,
2025 on a form the other day, and I didn't feel too bad because it was January 3rd, so it was that was not the worst. But yeah, so about the time when we're no longer writing 2025, I guess is when the new year actually starts.
yeah, that
Um,
program lifts.
yes.
It
Well,
falls away. Oh, goodness. Well, Kimmy, it has been wonderful speaking with you. I have loved having you on, and I look forward to having you on again.
yeah,
We have barely scratched the surface. We haven't even got into quantums. There's so much that we still have, that we can go into, and share with the viewers. So I would formally invite you back on again,
sure.
um, to go into some different areas, realms, and we can go into some of the classes that you teach, a little more into those, and maybe hand some people some tools that they could use, for the moments that are coming up,
Yeah,
and
I
permission slips that they're accepting
think.
or they're releasing.
Well, that sounds great to me. No, I would love to come back on again sometime and we can workshop that. But you can find me. My website is very simple. It's just
Okay.
kimmiehalliburtonpsychic.com.
Okay.
You go to my events tab, and then there will be all my classes. I
Okay.
offer readings, animal communication, mediumship, um, whatever, and that's all remote. I do a lot of remote energy work. I do in person too, but remote allows me a larger audience, right?
Yes.
And
Hmm.
so I do have all my services that are in person and remote for anybody
Yeah.
who.
Yeah. Most of mine are remote.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you
So,
just have a broader audience. I mean, I do
hmm
see people in person for
hmm
sessions. But and you can also reach me at 865-224-6858.
and
But
we'll put that in the
yeah,
description. Yeah.
awesome.
So send me that and we'll
Yeah.
put that in the description, for people to contact you. And is that a text only number?
No, you can call.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Fine, fine,
Okay.
fine. And I know nobody leaves voicemails anymore. No, but everybody just gets to the point where they get to the voicemail and then they hang up. I don't know why. I guess it's just we're so like instant communication these days, right?
Yeah.
But believe it or not, you can leave me a voicemail. That's
Yeah.
what phones are for.
Yeah.
In case I
Or
don't
shoot
answer
me
the
or
phone.
shoot a text message, and
Crazy.
and we'll get back to you when we can.
Yeah, exactly.
Busy.
So easy. But
Yep.
thank you for having me on. Yeah, I look forward to talking.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.
Wonderful. All right. Hey,
All
you
right.
too.
Thanks for coming on Ancient Voice.